Imagine you're sitting beside the person you love. The room is quiet until a phone vibrates on the table. The screen lights up for just a split second. Then they instinctively tilt it away before you can read the name. Nothing is said. Yet your heartbeat quickens, your palms grow cold, and an uneasy feeling spreads through your chest. Have you ever wondered whether that reaction is truly hardwired into human nature? Or is it the product of a story civilization has been telling us for thousands of years? What archaeology, anthropology, and evolutionary science are beginning to reveal may completely change the way you think about love, jealousy, and monogamy. Now, let me ask you a question. If you discovered that your ancestors believed a child could have more than one biological father, would you dismiss it as impossible, or would you be curious enough to keep listening? Deep within the Amazon rainforest, anthropologists spent decades studying communities whose understanding of reproduction challenged everything the modern world assumes to be true. Among groups such as the Bari of Venezuela and the Ashe of Paraguay, pregnancy was not believed to begin with a single act of conception. Instead, they believed a baby gradually grew stronger through the contributions of multiple men over the course of the mother's pregnancy. To us, that may sound astonishing. But for them, it wasn't a romantic ideal or sexual freedom. It was a survival strategy. Every man who shared intimacy with the mother became, in some sense, a father. And every father shared responsibility for protecting, feeding, and raising the child. Rather than depending on one provider, a child could rely on several adults invested in its future. Here's the remarkable part. Anthropological research found that Bari children who had both a primary father and a recognized secondary father were significantly more likely to survive into adolescence. In a world without hospitals, insurance, or government support, multiple fathers meant multiple hunters, multiple protectors, and multiple chances to survive. Would you have accepted such a system if it meant your children's odds of survival were dramatically higher? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, because what comes next is even more surprising. Leaving the dense Amazon behind, we climb thousands of meters into the harsh landscapes of the Himalayas, where freezing winters, thin air, and scarce farmland shaped an entirely different solution to survival. Here, in parts of Tibet and northern India, anthropologists documented a practice known as fraternal polyandry, a marriage in which several brothers shared one wife. At first glance, the arrangement seems almost impossible to understand. But imagine a family owning only a small patch of fertile land. If 3 brothers each married separately and divided that land among themselves, every generation would inherit smaller and smaller plots until none could support a family. Eventually, everyone would lose, so they chose another path. The brothers remained under one roof, shared the same household, worked the same fields, and raised children together. Instead of dividing their inheritance, they preserved it. The farm stayed productive, the livestock remained intact, and the family's wealth survived for generations. Anthropologist Melvin Goldstein found that this system wasn't driven by romance. It was driven by economics and ecology. In environments where nature offered almost no margin for error, cooperation became far more valuable than competition. What appears strange through modern eyes was, for centuries, one of the most effective strategies for keeping families alive. And as you'll soon discover, some societies went even further, questioning whether marriage itself was necessary at all. Now let me ask you something. What if I told you there is a society where people fall in love, have children, and build happy families, without the concept of a husband? Could a system like that really work? Far from the frozen Himalayas, near the breathtaking shores of Lugu Lake in southwest China, lives the Moshuo people, one of the world's last matrilineal societies. Instead of marriage, they practice what anthropologists call walking marriages. When night falls, a man quietly visits the woman he loves. Before sunrise, he returns to the home where he was born, continuing to live with his own mother, sisters, and relatives. There are no wedding ceremonies, no shared property, and no legal contracts binding the couple together. Even more surprising, children belong to their mother's family. They are raised by their mother, grandparents, aunts, and especially their maternal uncles, who often play a central role in their upbringing. Biological fathers may remain loving and involved, but they are not the heads of the household. To many outsiders, This sounds chaotic. Yet researchers have reported remarkably low levels of domestic conflict and partner violence within Moshuo communities. Without inheritance disputes or rigid expectations of ownership, relationships are built more on mutual choice than obligation. So here's a question for you. Do strong families require legal marriage? Or do they simply require trust, care, and commitment? Share your thoughts below, because the next chapter explains why so much of the modern world abandons systems like these. If human societies once thrived with shared parenting, flexible partnerships, and remarkably different ideas about family, what changed? The answer wasn't a sudden change in human biology. It was the invention of agriculture. Around 10,000 years ago, people stopped wandering and began settling permanently. Fields were fenced. Livestock became wealth. Grain could be stored. For the first time in history, families accumulated property that could be passed from one generation to the next. And that changed everything. The most important question was no longer, how do we help the community survive? It became, who inherits my land? To guarantee inheritance, certainty of paternity became increasingly valuable. Across many agricultural civilizations, women's sexuality came under stricter social control, while marriage evolved into a legal institution tied to property, lineage, and inheritance rather than love alone. Thinkers such as Friedrich Engels argued that this transformation marked a profound shift in human social organization. Whether or not one accepts all of his conclusions, many anthropologists agree that the rise of private property dramatically reshaped family structures around the world. So perhaps monogamy didn't spread because human nature suddenly changed. Perhaps it spread because economics changed first. What do you think had the greater influence on marriage? Love, biology, or property? Let us know in the comments, because the final piece of the puzzle may surprise you even more. So, does all of this mean romantic love is just an illusion? Not at all. Anthropologist Helen Fisher spent decades studying the neuroscience of love and found compelling evidence that humans are naturally wired for pair bonding. When we fall deeply in love, our brains release powerful chemicals such as dopamine and oxytocin, reinforcing trust, attachment, and long-term emotional connection. In other words, the desire to form a deep bond with another person is real. But here's the crucial distinction. Pair bonding is not the same thing as lifelong sexual exclusivity. Throughout human history, many societies combined strong emotional partnerships with family structures that looked very different from the modern nuclear household. People could experience profound love while still living within communities that emphasized cooperation, shared parenting, or flexible relationship systems when survival demanded it. Perhaps the anxiety you feel when your partner's phone lights up is not simply a message from your genes. Perhaps it is also the echo of thousands of years of cultural traditions built around inheritance, ownership, and exclusivity. Understanding that history doesn't tell us how we should live today. Instead, it reminds us that human relationships have always been far more diverse and far more adaptable than we often imagine. And in our final chapter, we'll explore what this extraordinary journey through human evolution really means for the way we love in the modern world. After exploring thousands of years of human history, one thing becomes clear. There has never been a single natural way to build a family. Monogamy is neither a mistake nor humanity's only destiny. It is one of many strategies our species has developed in response to changing environments, economies, and cultures. Perhaps the greatest lesson from our ancestors is not about choosing one relationship model over another, but about understanding why those models evolved in the first place. If this documentary changed the way you think about love and human evolution, don't forget to subscribe, and share your thoughts below. What topic should we explore next?